Sergeant Lyra Voss had seen many strange things during her 15 years patrolling the frontier zones, but nothing quite prepared her for the sight before her now. The distress call had come in at 0600 hours, sharp and urgent. 2 Velthrian cubs, barely 3 solar cycles old, had wandered from their family's settlement pod near the human colony of New Haven. Their mother's desperate chittering had echoed through the comm system, a sound that transcended species barriers. The Velthrians were a protected species under Galactic Council law, their population still recovering from the plague years. Losing even 2 cubs could impact their genetic diversity for generations. Lyra had assembled her team within minutes. They'd swept through the forest zones, scanners held high, searching for the distinctive heat signatures of Velthrian young. The cubs were small, no larger than earth cats, with luminescent fur that should have made them easy to spot in the pre-dawn darkness. But hours passed with nothing. By midday, Lyra's secondary heart had begun its stress rhythm, the telltale sign her species showed when facing probable failure. She'd called in aerial support. She'd requested tracking hounds from the Canid Corps. Every resource available to the Frontier Patrol had been deployed. Still nothing. Then her scanner had picked up something unusual, a human biosignature, stationary, approximately 2 kilometers into the forest reserve. Humans weren't supposed to be in this sector. They had their own territories, their own settlements. The agreement between species was clear. Lyra had approached cautiously, her weapon ready but not raised. Humans were unpredictable. They'd arrived in this sector of space only 40 standard years ago, yet they'd already earned a reputation. Some called them reckless. Others called them remarkable. Lyra tried to reserve judgment. What she found defied every expectation. Jonas Hale sat with his back against an ancient tree, its bark scarred by centuries of growth. He was utterly still, his breathing slow and measured. And there, curled against his shoulder, nestled into the crook of his neck, were the 2 missing Velthrian cubs. They were fast asleep. Lyra's hand went to her sidearm out of instinct, but she didn't draw it. She watched, studying the scene with the analytical eye of a veteran patrol officer. The cubs' fur pulsed with the soft blue glow that indicated contentment. Their tiny chests rose and fell, in perfect synchronization. One had its paw draped across the human's collarbone. The other had buried its face into his shirt. Jonas's eyes were closed, but Lyra knew he was aware of her presence. Humans had surprisingly acute hearing, a trait many species underestimated. "Don't move," she said quietly, her translator converting her words into the human's language. "You're in violation of territorial boundaries." Jonas's eyes opened slowly. They were brown, warm in a way that made Lyra uncomfortable. Humans had forward-facing eyes like predators, yet they used them to convey emotion in ways her people couldn't replicate. "I know," Jonas said, his voice barely above a whisper. "But they were crying." "Crying?" Lyra's translator struggled with the word, offering 3 different interpretations: scared, lost, making distress sounds. Jonas shifted slightly, and 1 cub mewled in its sleep. He froze immediately, waiting until it settled again. "I heard them about 4 hours ago. They'd gotten separated from their mother somehow, wandered into the ravine near Creek Sector 7. Lyra's mind raced. Creek Sector 7 was treacherous territory, steep drops, loose rock formations, and territorial predators that wouldn't hesitate to make a meal of something small and vulnerable. "You retrieved them from there?" She couldn't keep the disbelief from her voice. "Someone had to." Jonas's expression remained calm, almost serene. "I tried calling your patrol frequency, but my communicator's battery died. So I figured I'd wait here until someone found us. Safer than trying to move through the forest with them." They were exhausted. Lyra approached slowly, her scanner confirming what her eyes told her. The cubs were unharmed. More than unharmed, they were comfortable, secure, sleeping more soundly than cubs typically did, even in their own dens. "How did you—" She paused, searching for the right words. "They don't trust easily. Velthrians bond slowly, even with their own kind." Jonas smiled, a small gesture that crinkled the corners of his eyes. "I just held them. Let them know they were safe. Sometimes that's all anyone needs, you know?" Doesn't matter if you're human, or Velthrian, or anything else. It was such a simple statement, yet it carried a weight that made Lyra's translator hum with processing strain. Her species understood safety through strength, through pack hierarchy, and territorial dominance. The idea that a predator species for humans were undeniably predators could offer safety through simple presence was alien to her. Yet the evidence dozed softly on Jonas's shoulder. "I need to call this in," Lyra said finally. "The cub's mother is desperate, of course." Jonas nodded carefully. "Can you, maybe, have her meet us here? I don't want to wake them yet. They've had a rough morning." Lyra activated her comm unit, speaking rapidly in her native tongue. Within minutes, the cub's mother arrived, moving through the forest with the fluid grace her species was known for. When she saw her children, safe and sleeping on the strange human, she made a sound Lyra had never heard before, something between relief and joy and disbelief. The mother approached Jonas slowly, her luminescent fur brightening with emotion. She reached out one delicate paw, touching her cubs, confirming they were real and whole. Then she did something unprecedented. She touched Jonas's face. It was a gesture of gratitude so profound that Lyra felt her breath catch. The Velthrians only touched faces with family, with bondmates, with those they trusted with their very lives. Jonas sat perfectly still, accepting the gesture with grace. When the cubs finally woke, they transferred to their mother with sleepy contentment, their fur pulsing with the green of family reunion. The mother gathered them close, but before she left, she turned back to Jonas one final time. "Thank you," her translator said, though the chittering beneath it carried more meaning than any device could convey. Jonas simply nodded. As Lyra walked Jonas back to the boundary line, she found herself reconsidering everything she'd been taught about humans. They were dangerous. Yes. Unpredictable. Certainly. But perhaps they were also something else. Perhaps they were exactly what the galaxy needed. "You're not going to report the territorial violation, are you?" Jonas asked as they reached the marker stones. Lyra looked at him, then back toward the forest where the Velthrian family was disappearing into the trees. "What violation?" she said finally. "My report will state that the cubs were found sleeping safely in Sector 9. The circumstances of their rescue will remain unclear." Jonas's smile was genuine this time, reaching those predator eyes and transforming them into something that looked remarkably like understanding. "Thank you, Sergeant." "Thank you, Jonas Hale," Lyra replied. As she watched him walk back toward the human settlement, Lyra began composing her report in her mind. Some details would be included, others would be carefully omitted, but one thing would remain absolutely true. The cubs had been found dozing softly, safe and content, exactly where they needed to be.